¿Qué lo que mi gente? Yo soy Ricky de Bilingue Vlogs, and today I'm going to be giving you the best resources for learning Spanish vocabulary for free. So stay tuned. My guy Chris Brown, he said it best. Oh, Google Translate ain't loyal. Mi gente. It's 5. Wow, I've been doing this for a while. 5 years back, I made a video called Fun Ways to Keep Learning Spanish Vocabulary. But I didn't give you the resources to learn Spanish vocabulary. Now we all know that I love grammar books, I love vocabulary books, aka dictionaries. But maybe you don't really have the funds to invest in that right now, and that's okay because online there are so many resources for free that will teach you Spanish vocabulary. So I want to go over my favorite ones for different categories such as general Spanish, for learning Spanish phrases, for learning Spanish slang, things of that sort. So let's get right into it. The first resource that I have for you guys is called SpanishDict411.net. And I love this for learning Spanish vocabulary because it separates everything into categories. Of course, it's limited. They don't have all the words in the world, but they do have a lot of categories for you to learn with. This is my favorite because it gives you a big list of vocabulary, and that vocabulary list includes nouns from that category. They also add adjectives from that category, so whatever describes a noun. It also adds verbs from that category as well, so you can create full sentences based off of that vocabulary list, and I love that they have it set up that way. However, sometimes they can be very long, so they do have the option for more advanced lists where they kind of separate it and make it down to smaller chunks. And if that's too big for you, if in those lists there are too many words for you to study at one time, then they have the mini lists, which has about maybe 60 or less words for you to study at a time, as opposed to a big list of like 130 words and phrases, right? So I love Spanish 411 for that. But not only because of that, but because of the way that they allow you to study the words. So when you click on a category, you'll see that they give you the category of words, but it also has different things that you can do with this. So you can put it as flashcards. You can do the list, which is my favorite. You can play games with it. You can even make quizzes with it. So however you want to study that vocabulary, you can do that. My favorite, even though I know this is all online, you can do everything visually, my favorite is still to write things down physically and to say them out loud as I write them down. I shared with you guys before in another video how I learned vocab when I was learning it. So yeah, that's what I would recommend for you guys to do, would be to write it down. But if you're not that kind of person, it's okay. It's okay to get with the times and to not write everything down and to use everything electronically. As long as you're learning it, that's the most important thing. We want to make sure that the vocabulary sticks, and Spanish411.net is going to allow that to happen for you because you're going to have so many ways to apply that vocabulary. The next thing I want to talk about is SpanishDict.com. I actually went ahead and created an account just for this video so I can show you guys how that works. So they also have vocabulary, and it's separated by categories. And what I like about it is that the categories are separated into smaller chunks. So you never have to worry about maybe taking on too many words at one time. But if you are the kind of person that likes to learn a lot of words, a lot of vocabulary, you're really good at retaining it and really keeping it and learning it, not just memorizing it, then they do have big lists, 1,000 words for beginner, the most common words that beginners use, 1,000 words for intermediates, 1,000 words for advanced, so on and so forth. But the smaller categories, they work a little bit differently, where it can be 12 words, it can be 50 words, it just depends on the category there. I don't like it as much as Spanish411.net. I'm not saying it's a bad resource, but Spanish411.net has all the words laid out for you, and you decide how to study them. Whereas SpanishDict, they kind of make you go through the words one by one. They want you to type it into this box. But if you don't know the word, if you've never experienced it, then what are you typing in? You're typing in blah, blah, blah. And then that's when they'll give you the word in Spanish. So I don't really like that format, but I guess it does kind of mimic what happens in real life, when you're having a conversation with someone and then you come across a word you don't know and you kind of have to know how to say it. But I don't know, it's just not my favorite. It's not my favorite. So these are the lists that we're talking about. But now let's talk about, like I just explained, you are in a Spanish conversation and you come across a word you don't know, or maybe you're reading something and you come across the word that you don't know in Spanish. How do you deal with that? So I want to talk to you about the best online dictionaries that you can use for free to learn words. Okay, so my opinion on this has changed a little bit with these lists. So the first one that I want to recommend to you is actually SpanishDict.com. They've come a long way, and I like the way that they give you a lot of different uses of the word, which I love to do on this channel. I have the videos like the mini uses of this, the mini uses of that, and that's exactly what they do on SpanishDict. They give you the mini uses of one word, and you can see the words applied in sentences so you can know how they're used. If that's your style, feel free to check out SpanishDict.com. However, I also like WordReference.com. WordReference.com is great because it does the same thing, but they also have forums. Let's say that you don't understand whether to use tuve or tenía to say I had in the past. Well, you can go to the forums on WordReference.com. People that are a part of that community, they will explain that to you. You can always ask whatever question you want to ask, and there will be people ready there to respond. I don't know how long the responses take to get there. Everyone that I've come across has been there for a while, but you can always ask your question and somebody will get to it. You can look up any word you want to. As far as standard Spanish, there are colloquial phrases here and there, and that's something that we're gonna talk about later. But if it's standard Spanish, then you'll be able to find that on WordReference or SpanishDict.com. We've talked about learning vocabulary through lists. We talked about learning individual words, but sometimes what we learn is not a word. Sometimes it's a phrase, and we want to know how to use that in Spanish. Well, the best site to do that would be Linguee.com. Linguee is great because it has so many different languages, but we're talking about Spanish here, right? So make sure it's the Spanish to English, English to Spanish version that you're using. But you can type in a phrase that you heard somewhere, or a figure of speech that you heard somewhere, type it in, and you can most likely find that on Linguee. If you can, you gotta just Google it. But what I like about them is that they pull from online documents all over the world to see the application. If it has a yellow triangle, like a hazard thing, that means that source is not really verified. It may come from something that's not the most accurate. Most of the time it actually is, but it's just like they're not sure about it, whether it's accurate or not. But below that, they're gonna give you a lot of examples of things that truly are accurate, translated from English to Spanish. So I really like that for learning phrases, standard phrases that is. It won't really work with a lot of slang phrases. Speaking of slang, let's talk about it. There are 3 great online Spanish dictionaries that I like to use. So my favorite one is called Diccionariolibre. I learned a lot of words from here. Let's say I'm listening to a reggaeton song, or I don't know, it's Miami, so I hear stuff all the time in Spanish in Miami. And if I don't know what something means, then I'm gonna go to Diccionariolibre, because I'm assuming that word is a slang from Chile or from Argentina or from this place or that place. And I can look it up, and 8 times out of 10, I'll be able to find that word on Diccionariolibre. For example, the artist Bilingue 47, he had a song called El Juidero. So some people might not know what El Juidero means. It's Dominican Spanish, of course, but what does El Juidero mean? You can find that term on Diccionariolibre. And that's why I think it's a great source. You can literally pull slang from anywhere, and most likely it's gonna be on this website. Now, there are 2 sites that are like Diccionariolibre, but they're not as great. So the next one I wanna talk about is called TuBabel.com, TuBabel.com. And with TuBabel, it's a site where they do have the good version. So for people like me that don't use bad words, they have a good version there that you can see, it's not gonna be full of bad words. And then they do have the dirty version for people who do want to learn bad words. The only time I talk about learning bad words here is it's because you wanna know when you're being insulted and kind of how to respond to that. But I wouldn't respond with bad words. I just don't like them. I'm not a big fan of them in English or Spanish, so I don't see the point. You can go to TuBabel and it'll teach you this is what they're saying about you. This is how they're talking. So stuff like that. And then my least favorite out of all of them is Asihablamos. So if you can't find it on Diccionariolibre, you can't find it on TuBabel, then you can try it on Asihablamos.com, and maybe they'll have it for you there. But if not, then you know what you gotta do. You gotta go to Google. You gotta Google it. Now, the problem with Google is a lot of you guys will go straight to Google and go to Google Translate, and Google Translate, guys, is not faithful, okay? Chris Brown said it best. Oh, Google Translate ain't loyal. Chris Brown know what he's talking about. Google Translate is not loyal to you. Don't be going there, okay? What we wanna do is go to Google and then type in the word, and then en español, or the word in Spanish, significado en español. You want to look these words up in Spanish. You can try to look them up in English. You may have some luck finding some slang words in English, but the best way to look it up is in Spanish. So this is probably more for my intermediate and advanced learners here. But if you're a beginner, try to look it up in English. So what does se armó el juidero mean in English? You can try that. Maybe it'll come up for you. But I would put que significa se armó el juidero en español. Or if you know that it's from a certain country, then search it up that way. Se armó el juidero en español dominicano. okay? So you have to learn how to search. You guys have to learn how to search because what you're looking for is out there. You may have to search 5 different times, 5 different ways, but you can find it. Trust me, I know from experience. That's it for today's video, guys. If this was helpful, please share this video. Please give it a thumbs up and also comment down below with your best resources. What have been the resources that you've used to learn Spanish vocabulary? I want to know because we're a language learning community here and we all help each other out, okay? And don't forget to press that subscribe button and the notification bell. Some of you guys watch my videos and you're not subscribed and you always watch my videos. ¿Qué tú haces? Go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Gracias por estar aquí. Hasta aquí el video de hoy, mi gente. Y nos fuimos.